So it seems like a lot better choice to focus on what we now have in front of us and the opportunities that we all now have, especially with Don. He's going to be executed in a prison. He's lived the last 20 years of his life in a concrete box that has no windows, no natural sunlight or fresh air. It's by many standards quite a horrible thing. In fact, Amnesty International visited the prison and declared it inhumane and cruel and unusual punishment because they don't have natural sunlight. So from many standards, yeah, but then, travel to India or travel to prisons in China or in, North Korea or anywhere, and not only do they have horrible situations, but they torture the people. So, we can focus on the fact that, it's not the best situation in one sense, but then, if we compare it to other situations, there's a lot worse places a person could be. And in fact, what he now has is solitude. He has some relative quiet, and he has the time to focus on his mind. He also has something that we won't all get, which is a date. A date has been set, and he knows he's going to be executed. And we sit in the meditation hall and do this meditation. What if I was going to die a month from now? What if I was going to die a week from now? What if I was going to die today? What would that be like? That's something we intentionally set our mind on. So in Don's situation, the meditation is done for him. Now all he has to do is draw out of that the beneficial aspects, which is energy to practice, clear focus and not being distracted by what's for lunch, because most people don't really care, what they're going to eat if they're going to die. I mean, the food is not the most important thing. So a lot of the small, unimportant things drop to the wayside, and you can forget about them completely. And then, if we work with our mind and we have the Dharma, we can focus our mind on the aspects that are beneficial, which are very, very many. Not only has he done that, but he's also changed his life in the time that he's been in prison. When I spoke with his sister while I was there, she said that her and the other sister were quite sure that he wouldn't live past 40 if he had stayed on the streets. He was using drugs very heavily, and they were probably right, and I probably wouldn't have given him that long. But he turns 41 on October 8th, 6 days before his execution. So, although, he didn't, live to be a ripe old age, he may have done better being in prison than he would have on the streets. And he definitely wouldn't have found the Dharma if he was continuing on the streets and in the way that he was. So, by all accounts, he was quite lucky to have this outcome. And there isn't really any reason to look at it any other way, because it is a reality. It's a reality that we can look at the situation and say that. And we have the choice to look at it other ways and say, oh, poor him, or oh, poor me. But there's nothing wrong with choosing looking at it in a positive light. And in fact, that leads us to have encouragement, not become distressed about the situation, and to actually utilize what time we have left in a way that will lead to our death being more peaceful, to our mind being more calm, to our heart being more open, and just in general to having a more meaningful life. So I hope that we all have that. I hope we all have such a wonderful opportunity that Don now has. Some people might look at the situation that Don is in and think of the Dharma practices that we have and really meditate on death, which is a very good thing to do. But our meditations can go wrong, and we can start using that meditation in this situation to distress ourselves. And we can also become confused and start to think that distressing ourselves about someone's death is a good thing, in the sense that, well, if I'm distressed, then I'm going to try harder in my practice. And this is not an accurate way to utilize the meditations. I don't want anybody to look at what I'm saying here, Don's situation, and think, like, oh, well, he obviously doesn't care that much about someone who's dying. That's not reality. I very much care about a situation that this man is in that I care very deeply for personally. But we have to be realistic about it. And the reality is that he is in the fact that he's going to die, he is in no different a situation than all the rest of us. So if I'm going to be feel emotional for the sake of Don, then it's only accurate to do it for the sake of everybody else and my own self at the same time. If I'm not doing that and I'm focusing all my attention on this one person who's dying, then it's easy for the mind to get just spinning into self-distress. My friend is dying, this person I care about is dying, or even if we don't use the words my in it and we think we're only focusing on the person, it's very, very easy to go that direction. So the point is not that, you know, it's a good thing that someone's dying or that it's just fine that someone's dying. The point is that that's reality, and that's the reality for all of us. And it's something that's assumed in the fact that we're alive. We are dying. There isn't any other way around it. And that being an assumption and something that we can continue to acknowledge and use for our practice, we don't need to brood on that all the time. Sometimes we need to focus on the positives in order to uplift our mind and the wonderful situation that we have, being human beings who have met the Dharma. That is something that we need to do. And at times, when we get excited and we're running after sense pleasures, then we can stop and say, oh, my friend Don is being executed, and he's serving a death sentence, and so am I, and everybody else here is also serving a death sentence. We're all going to be executed. It might not be by the state, it might not be by a human being, it might be by cancer, or it might be by a car wreck, but we're all going to be executed, and we don't know when that will come. Some of us here might be dead before Don is, and that's, you know, his execution is a month away, but in that regards, it's no different, his situation and our situation. So we can't focus all of our mind on, oh, poor Don, because it's poor everyone, poor all of us who are stuck in this. And there's no reason to let our minds go any other direction. It should only be used as an opportunity to increase our compassion and widen our view of the world and open our heart. That is really how we can utilize this situation where something quite tragic is happening and will happen, but it's something quite tragic that happens every day in samsara.